Drew Yorke Show, live from ISO Radio in Toronto. I have a pair of very special guests today. It's funny, they're all the way from Calgary, but I'm hoping they're going to be staying in Toronto a while because I'm really excited about the music that they're making right now. Cartel Madras, please come join me. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having us. Thank you for having us.
Welcome to Toronto.
It is good to be here.
Yeah, how have you been enjoying it so far? Like, it seems like you guys been like touching all the spots, like seeing all the rooftops, like.
Yeah, it's been a good like run of like nightlife so far because we've basically just been sleeping all day and going out all night.
Yeah,
and then that's a really nice way to like figure out a city, especially like as performers.
Were you living that kind of like lifestyle back in Calgary too?
Yes,
we were ish. I feel like our run in June in Calgary was record, a lot of really big shows in Calgary and a lot of big shows. We had a big show in where was it? Hamilton, Vancouver.
Yeah,
we're on tour
and then
right now.
Hamilton, yeah.
So there was June was pretty busy for us in Calgary. We had to get a lot of shit figured out. So this is good. Like it's a bit of a. We've been on a 2-week, somewhat what feels like a break.
Yeah, it's like a very temporary vacation mode.
Yeah.
Till we start recording again.
Recording and performing.
Honestly, like the 2 weeks that we like haven't been doing shows or recording or any of that stuff has been really not the vibe.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it's lit because it's like, oh, we can finally just
got that like itch.
Relax, but honestly, relaxing is like.
It feels weird. I think
feels bad.
I think we really thrive off being on stage. That's like really where we get our high. And you know, over here it's like we're partying, but like it's interesting. It kind of feels like we have to like crack the scene. You know what I mean? And like I feel like we like rode off this high from this one city and now we're into a next one and we're like, oh, okay. Whole new ecosystem. It's good because we're coming in kind of not absolutely unknown, absolutely underground. You know what I mean? It's like we're coming in with a bit of cloud and, you know, some agency, knowing a few people. So that's good.
It's like people were like putting me on to you, like I say, like probably like 2 weeks ago or so, maybe 3 weeks ago. That's when people started. Like that's like within like 2 days, like Josephine had put me on to your music saying that you guys are moving here. And then like 2 days later, you know, Harm Franklin.
Yeah.
He just moved here.
Yeah.
So he was putting me on to music saying I had to like interview you, had to meet you.
Lit.
That's dope.
That's sick.
Tell me the story about going to the Princess Nokia show and then like, because it like changed your life, right? Like that's like.
Yeah,
I just think,
it was a big show.
I think that story's so sick because like coming from like I grew up in Ottawa, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so like you really in Ottawa you have to see it to believe it. Like
Mm-hmm.
no one there thinks that they can be on that stage until like Night Lavelle really blew up. And then it's like,
oh my God,
that could actually not just somebody from another town, like that's like somebody from here.
Yeah.
Selling out the
That's
venue,
the big
you know?
thing. Yeah. Honestly, I think going to that show and like realizing that because we'd been making music before that, but then like going to the Princess Nokia show, it was like the right mix of like us getting ready to take the leap into like making music seriously and pursuing it seriously. But I think seeing a brown woman on stage do it well and sound amazing and look
just the
cool.
way she does it too, just the swag, you know.
It was like really great because we saw it and we're like, we're gonna do this.
And to see that kind of, I mean, to put it into context, we're from Calgary, so like no one's really coming through. Like no one in the deep underground is coming through. They're starting to now.
Yeah.
But this is like 2017 where big rappers come through, but like those small shows that come by are really important to us. So it's like, you know, the Freddie Gibbs show. Who do we see? We saw Flying Lotus in 2017. There's these shows that happen and you're like, oh, I have to see it. And Princess Nokia, we were like, she's coming here. That's crazy. Right. And she came, and to go out there to Commonwealth, which is like a really popular venue in Calgary, and to see the demographic
of that show being like not the demographic of like a typical night at the club or like a typical hip hop show that would come through that was like a bigger act. It was a really good moment for us.
Yeah, I guess it makes you think. You're like, yo, this audience is here.
Exactly.
There's people are hungry for this shit.
Yeah, because usually you exist in this like, you exist in your basement listening to this music, and you're like, just me, and and you know, and like you like go to this show, and like we go to a lot of shows, but we went there and we were like, there weren't that many people there because she blew up right after that. She blew up after that.
Yeah, it was like a nice amount of people, and like it wasn't packed out, but it was like the people there were dying to see her.
Mm-hmm.
And like that kind of energy in that room was really great to see for that act particularly. 'Cause it's like, we're huge fans. We love what she does. And seeing people in our city show up for her was very encouraging.
It was really like a time and a place kind of thing. We were like, oh, we're like, you know, you really feel it in this moment where you're like, the time is now. Because we'd been making music and we'd been rapping, but then we were like, I remember like turning to each other and we were like, we have to do this now.
Was anything out? Like, did you put anything music out, or you're just making it?
Honestly, there was
I mean, there were secret
couple
SoundCloud
secret
accounts.
SoundCloud
Right.
songs that
Like
have
your friends were
hopefully
listening to.
been
Yeah, yeah,
scrubbed clean from the
Like,
internet.
fucking
But,
the deep underground.
That's funny.
the deepest of cuts, because they're all they're all
Have been
gone
deleted.
now.
No,
No,
but
they've been archived. We
Yeah, they've been
still have
archived.
them.
But we were doing like secret stuff on SoundCloud, right? Like we didn't have a platform yet. Like we weren't like sure how to do it. But then we always kind of had the idea. It was always there. We were always building up to it. There was this, I feel like Cartel Madras was born years before we became Cartel Madras, just through our life and how we like navigated a space like Calgary being like.
Did you always know you wanted to do something like a bigger than?
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We always knew, and I think the people around us always knew as well. It's just no one was sure what. You know what it was? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, and we pursued a lot of different things, and it feels like we were always building up to what this is.
It looks like there's been a lot of diversity in our careers in terms of like the different fields we've navigated in, but ultimately I think all of it has built up into like what we're doing right now, which is a culmination of all of our previous projects.
Mm-hmm.
So how long was it until you started putting music out? Like, so you started releasing it and started calling yourselves Cartel. Like so that was like 2017. So
yeah,
like,
that was 2017.
was the first release in 2018, right?
I think the first
We
real
had-
release.
We had like little snippets on Instagram that we were posting.
Word.
Yeah.
And like we would like make a little iMovie video with like a Samurai Champloo clip, and we'd be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and we'd put our little
Shout
thing
out to
over it.
Samurai. Wow.
Yeah.
I can't even speak. Shout out to Samurai Shampoo.
Yeah.
That's like a tongue twister.
We're big anime heads, and I know like everyone's a big anime head now, but we were like deep cut. Old
Everyone's a
days.
fake anime head now.
Right? I know exactly. Like everyone's like it's like very like aesthetic, and it's like
I watched Dragon Ball Z on YTV in English.
Oh my God! Don't even get me started about
Yeah,
English. Like
OG like Ranma one
like
and a half.
going to Chinatown,
anime head.
buying the copy and praying that it has subtitles.
Yeah.
And like watching it and being like, shit, it doesn't have subtitles.
And like in Calgary, we were like, it's not like it really like looks cool. So like we were like, okay, we're rapping and we're taking these like
we're taking like photos in and around the city,
but like trying to hide that it's the city because we're like we don't
Oh
want to
my
rap
God.
in front of the mountains. I know a lot of people are like, I'm gonna take a music video and bam. And
we
we're
don't
like,
want
why
to
would you
rap
do
in
that?
front of the Calgary Tower.
Yeah,
because
that's
that's
whack.
not the vibe.
Sorry, that's crazy.
But
To
like-
everyone still doing that in Calgary, please stop.
But honestly, like we did want to like. Once we became more confident in what we were doing, we did want to represent the city better,
Yeah.
and we did want to like reference a lot more of what was going on in that city. Because like, yeah, even when we were like kind of like shady about the fact that Calgary was our base, like we did have a lot of like Calgary-based lyrics and references to the city that we lived in, because like that was our range of experience, and like India's our range of experience, and so like putting in very specific references really rang true with certain listeners that like were from that background, or like someone was like, oh, I've been to that bar on 17th Ave in Calgary and pretty sure I saw you there being a fool.
Yeah.
I want to ask about your parents' impression of your music, because I
This
have
is
like a lot of
hilarious.
people I have on the show like have immigrant parents, like first generation parents,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they're just so confused by like what's happening. So
Exactly.
I wonder, like, especially because your sisters, I wonder if that's like a like.
They-
It's not even like that. Like one of you became a rapper. Like
It's
both
both
of you
of us,
became
right?
rappers.
Yeah.
I think at first they were, I mean, we've always been like dabbling on the creative side of things, and we've always encouraged that because we were always, you know, in dance and music and blah 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 growing up. But the rap thing sort of like all of a sudden, I remember like loudly rapping in my room and recording because I was like, I'd moved back home for a couple months because I'd moved out of my apartment, and I was like, oh whatever, I'll like live at home for 3 months, save some money, and like I was like loudly rapping in my room, and then like my mom was like, why are you yelling? What are you doing?
Who are you
weird.
talking to?
Yeah.
Who are you talking to?
And I was
Honestly, like the first conversations we had with like our parents about like rapping, they were like, okay, cool hobby, sick.
Yeah.
Like make sure like you have time for other things. And then like that quickly like turned into us not doing any other things.
Yeah.
And just rapping and, working
this,
on music.
right? And it's like, we got to go to this, we got to go to that. And then I think with our parents, they're very, and this is a very immigrant parent thing, but they're like, you have to be successful, right? And whatever we were doing, it becoming real and tangible happened fast. We were being booked very fast, and the press came quickly. And then, we released something, and then there was labels kind of
which
circling.
Is like really like in terms of how this is interpreted by our parents, it was really like reassuring to them to see like the attention and like people noticing and like us getting like things that they can kind of understand.
They're like, you're on the CBC, you're on Vogue, you know what I mean?
The
Things
Calgary
like
Herald.
yeah,
like stuff like that.
Exactly.
It's like, because it's like we're like, oh yo mom, like if we tell her like
we're on Complex,
we're like, yo,
Yeah.
we got on Complex, it's lit, and she's like, okay,
yeah. No,
what is a Complex?
they pay you for that? Yeah.
we were like, oh, we have to go to Montreal to open for Cupcake, like craziest opportunity. This was last year. And then like she was like, okay. And like we were like, no, it's insane. Like, we were like freaking out. We were like screaming. We're like, this is wild. Like we have to go. Whoa.
There's no way to explain it.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we're like,
get it.
and it's also like, I'm really not gonna play CPR for my mom because like it's like there's a level of shock she can handle.
But it's so weird, like the frames of references we had. Like we just played Slat Island, and we were like talking to my mom. We're like, oh, it's gonna be crazy. Like we're jumping on stage before JPEG Mafia, and she was like, cool. And then like the next day, like a CBC article comes out, and she's like, this is crazy.
Sending
the
it to everybody.
CBC articles everywhere.
Look at my daughters.
She
Right?
sent it like her friends were sending it to her, and her work. People from her like work were sending it to her, and then she like messaged us, and she was like, "Do you guys have like a clean version of some of these things that I could send to my friends?"
Yeah.
And we're like, "No,
We really
I mean
don't.
we don't."
Yeah.
And like honestly, your friends found the article. You're
Yeah.
chilling.
Yeah.
Well, I think the first time they like saw us live and like doing a show.
We gave them one show because we had a lot of shows, but we're like, you can't come to like a trap show. Everyone's high.
You
It's gonna
can't
be
come
too
to
wild
like a musty
for our two Indian
dank-
parents. Right? But there was one show where like NMC, like the National Music Center in Calgary, they were doing Alberta Spotlight series, and they reached out to us and they're like, we want to spotlight you. And we were like, okay, that's like I can sell that to my parents in a way. And like it was like a Tuesday, and it started at 9.
Honestly,
we're
like
like-
that show still like went hard.
No, it went hard.
And the
So my
crowd
parents
was
were like,
banging.
That's sick though.
right? It was crazy, and it was like a sold out show, but that was like, oh, it was like NMC, this institution you like recognize, you know?
like
Yeah.
none of the content changed, but like at the end of it, like they were like, "Oh yeah, that was really good, you guys." And my dad's face was like, it was like he was kind of like scared of us.
My dad's very confused by all of this.
He was like,
Didn't know that you're even capable of like.
yeah, he was like,
Didn't know that was
"Oh,
inside of you.
my daughters are terrifying me."
Yeah, like
he was like,
oh.
"Good job, guys. This
Yeah,
is
my
great."
dad was like, good job, and he like left, and that was it.
Rocketed away back home.
Yeah.
I love that. How maybe we should like talk about how music even became like a part of your life. Like, do you remember like how early that was, or was it always like around?
Always around, definitely. Like
Yeah.
we music's always been like really a huge part of like how we consume life, culture,
Yeah.
and media, because like also like we have always like soundtracked our lives according to like what we found, and a lot of that before Spotify was like Radio Blog Club, online blogs, movies. Movies in different languages, so getting like soundtracks in different languages, and so like
lots of like
lots of
LimeWire
stuff,
and Kazaa rips,
and then like accidentally downloading a bunch of porn when you're like 8,
yeah,
and being like, shit, I don't know what to do with the computer.
It's like that shit, like when you like search like a whatever song, and then it's like the exact same file name, like the file name is like the exact same as what you search, and you're like, oh, how convenient.
Yeah,
like, perfect.
Wow. Yeah, amazing. Even with my spelling, 800 people,
even my spelling errors in here.
Yeah, a lot of really shocking exposure from when I was very young because of LimeWire.
Yeah, but we were always music heads. We were always, music mixtape kids. Let me DJ, give me the aux cord at the party kids.
Yeah, let me make you a mixtape to show you I have a crush on you.
Yeah. We were definitely those people. But even from a cultural perspective, we're South Indian, so there was always an element of having to learn music and dance in our house. That was always so like we did have to grow up being trained musically and being trained in dance, so that was always there in a certain way, right? Our mom was like, I mean, she's a scientist, but she was also a dancer. And like my dad's mother was like a professional like Veena player, so there was this sense like of music.
There's a sense of like respect for art in our family,
and the city we were born in. Like
it's crazy how like hugely important that is. Like for somebody like I'm the same. My parents are music teachers, so it's like I look back on that. It's like that was like a huge. There was like a lot of value placed on it. Like that was like
it's
that's
like always there.
Important.
Yeah,
and to be treated with importance and respect.
Exactly. And the city we were
worth
from,
giving time to.
Chennai is a big
music
city. It's like an art city. Like a lot.
Where are you
of
from?
like
Chennai, like Madras,
right
in South India. That's where we were born.
The name has been changed, right?
Yes. Yeah. Is Madras when we were born there,
and then
which was its colonial name, and now it's Chennai.
Word.
Yeah. But like Chennai's a hub for the arts in South India.
It's really cool, and like honestly, like being like classically trained in like piano and vocal lessons in dance, doing classical Indian dance, doing like ballet, jazz, hip hop, growing up, it's like it was lit because it was like a lot of immersion in the arts, but then like that really did enable us to be creative independently from those things. So it's like having that base, like we wrote a lot of songs, we made a lot of jazz music growing up, we were like dance choreographers for a while, so like there was a lot of creativity and artistry that stemmed from what we had the privilege to learn growing up.
Word. Did they bring any music and like VHSs or videos and stuff like over with them when you guys moved? Like, did they bring?
Lots,
big time
CDs and tapes and shit like that.
There was we grew up around a lot of Indian music too, right? Like we were trained in Indian music as well and Western music, so there was a lot of Indian music in our house. There was a lot of Indian, like and I think this is what happens in all Indian houses. Like you go in and like there's like retro Indian shit running in the background.
Yeah, on the
all
TV
the time.
all the time,
right?
Or it's like an Indian serial.
Yeah,
like it's too loud,
like an Indian like soap opera, and it's like it's very like blaring, and it's like people will come over to our house and they're like,
what is going on?
Yeah, like they're like, are you guys like, what's happening here? And it's like someone's like yelling on the TV,
like,
and everyone's just like,
would like hesitantly walk past our grandma and be like, dude, is she okay? That is so loud.
That's a very like Indian thing, but there was definitely always like music running in the background of our lives, which I like, it's now when we're really like creating rap, like there's certain things that we're like, oh, we want this sound, and it's like you think about it and it's like, oh yeah, I was just in a Tamil movie I watched growing up, right? Yeah
That's sick. I think it's sick that well, I mean, obviously that you're just doing your own shit, but it's like you're not just doing like like Indian Canadian rap. It's not like just like that version of it.
God,
There's lots, like I know there's like tons of people here in Toronto especially that are just doing that classic, like you like rent a Ferrari and then it's just like a very just like it's just like a very just like
bad
like a not good crossover. That's why I like about your music so much, is that like it's like very natural.
Thank
and like
you.
a lot of that stuff coming from like I think like some from your childhood, it's like more I'm seeing it more in like your videos and more in your art and more in like your fashion, more so than just like in the sonics of the music.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's a huge part of our like vision
Yeah.
to not be cornballs.
Yeah. It's like if we had like a
To really
statement, it would be
be
like
anti-cornball.
corny. Because people are so
People
corny.
really love being corny. They
People,
fucking
yo,
love
people
it.
love being corny in hip hop. It's
People really
crazy.
do.
It's
Just point blank. Yeah.
Corn City. Corn City back home sometimes. And it's like, it's weird because
It's like Tabor. It's
Yeah,
just
oh God.
corn.
But I don't know. We from the get, I think like, and this is an immigrant thing where you're like an immigrant kid and you're like, really want to be cool. It's really hard being cool. No one thinks I'm cool.
It's
I'm an
really
immigrant.
important.
Yeah, you're like, you realize quickly, you're like, okay, like the social currency of like, it's like being cool. That's all that fucking matters.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, TBH, even as an adult, right?
That's something you realize, I think, as you become an adult. You're like,
Right?
it's the same.
It's
still
the
super
same,
important. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like, it's the same. And it's like, when you're a young brown kid here, you're like figuring out how to be cool and like most of it is not working. And you're like, there's this like moment in your life where you're like, you know, like, my culture, like where I come from and like the actual tidbits of it, there's certain parts of it that are actually like really dope. And there's like certain narratives from like your country that's really dope. For instance, like us running with Goonda Rap. Being a gangster in India is like a crazy wild thing, right? But like no one thinks about that here. No one thinks about that narrative. No one thinks about like what it's like to be this like crazy gangster in the south of
Totally.
India.
And like growing
know?
up without like any of like growing up not seeing enough of what a cool person who looks like you is doing, seeing like very like MIA and her runtime and being like, shit, that's lit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like really like thinking like, oh wow, okay, like this is what it looks like to be Indian, to be Sri Lankan, and cool, to be brown and talented and
Yeah.
be in music and art.
Yeah. It's
And like be having that representation is so important. And I think that like I think we're trying to be a part of bless
Yeah,
up.
that's obviously like motivating you.
Yeah, we're
For
trying to be
sure.
a part of this discussion where young people of color can feel more comfortable and confident being cool younger and be like, cool, like I feel comfortable owning this part of my identity.
Yeah.
I feel lit because of this dope thing that my culture has.
I don't have to abandon where I'm from entirely, right? To fit into this society, I can like hold on to it in a way and actually like speak my truth and come up with all sort of narratives, because I think the mainstream narratives we saw for Indian women, brown women, queer women, they were all like whack. We're like, yeah, this is like very far-fetched from the life we're living and, you know, the things we're doing and the people we are, right? And we're like, where are the women that look like us and act like us and talk like us? So that was a big part of the Cartel Madras project. It was, how do we like put our story out there and like really like subvert the narrative? How do we change this genre and flip it on its head in an honest way?
How do we like speak to the younger version of ourselves and be the people
for
we
real.
wanted to see?
Yeah.
You say that like it's even from looking at you, like if you just Google Cartel Madras, it seems like from when you launched, like there was a lot of like positive reception like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I know like from talking to Harm about Calgary that like when he was trying to do his own kind of thing, that he was facing some like just people just weren't into it. People like lots of haters of just like this is like different than like what people are into like now, because like at least for a long time it seems like rap in Calgary was like 10 at 10 was like the pinnacle
Right.
of
Yes.
what that was.
Right. Yes.
So if you weren't sort of like freestyling or you weren't like battle rapping,
Yeah,
Yes,
you weren't
like
like
a
culture.
cypher, bro.
Yeah.
like what you know they weren't what you were doing wasn't valuable, and so
Yeah.
he started
Yeah.
like. I wonder if like was there some pushback like in like when you first started, like anybody started going like what the fuck is
I mean,
this? Or,
when we first started, I was telling someone this yesterday, where it was like, you know, when we started, we were like, we didn't really know anything, so we're like hashtag rap Calgary, hashtag YYC rap,
yeah.
you know, like you don't really,
Yeah.
you don't know anything, and it's like the only like institution of hip hop in Calgary is 10 at 10, right? And we were like, okay, I guess we'll reach out to like rappers online in Calgary. So we were like sending messages to people. We're like, hey, like we're
Yeah,
like,
we were like super interactive and like
yeah, we but you know, like at first, that first wave, there was tons of people who were like not for it because
yeah.
I find when you're like a female rapper, people are not really gonna listen to you. Like it takes a long. It's like I have to like shake you and rap in your mouth for you to be like, oh my god, you're rapping. You know what I mean? Like there are people in Calgary who have heard about us, who are in the music scene, blah blah blah, and a year later they accidentally had to be at a show we were at that was sold out somehow. Then they see us and they're like, whoa, oh my god, you guys are crazy. And it's like,
no, there was a lot of so like in the general audiences that have like been loyal to us from the start, like definitely Calgary's LGBTQ plus community, definitely people that like were following us on Instagram that were like, this exists in Calgary, that's lit, when are you guys doing a show? So those people were like already on board, and like having the support of those people was really important because like it was like, right, it's not that we don't have anything to jump off of in the city and that we have to just like really like put up a white flag immediately. But in terms of the industry in Calgary, we had to do a lot of converting. Yeah, because like before people knew who we were, they were just like two brown girls rapping. They're like super explicit, and they're like, I don't know what this is. I don't think I like it. And then it's like, yeah, guess what? Come to a show and it's lit. And then like by the end of our time there, like all of our Sans Fucks, which was like our independently organized trap party, all of those had like sold out every time, and like the industry was showing up for us. Yeah. Other artists were showing up for us. But definitely in terms of like artists in hip hop in Calgary, it was like a process of converting them, and also just being like, look, like you can be on our side and like this can be lit, or you can watch. You can watch.
And that happened, you know, people after like they'll hear about us and then all of a sudden we were everywhere and people were like, whoa, wait, oh my god, like, you know what I mean? It was like it hit people, and then our growth happened very quickly, and then our city was really there for us, which was lit. And I was like, wow, we're like really doing this in Calgary. We thought we would be in Toronto a long time ago.
That's definitely something that I think you'll look back on like with like like warm feelings.
Definitely.
Like, when we debuted, like shit actually like popped off.
It was very very heartening.
Okay, my last question is, before I let a guest go, I usually try to get like some food recommendations. So maybe I know you haven't been here that long, so maybe something you've discovered while you've been here, and then something from back in Calgary.
Okay.
Ooh,
that's fun.
Oh, okay.
I had a really good cocktail at Shore Leave. What? Shore Leave? You know, we went with like Martine, Matt. Shore Leave, yeah. That's what I said, bro.
Interesting.
She kept calling it Shoreditch that night.
Yeah.
She like got into the cab and she's like, take us to Shoreditch. I was like, I don't know what that is.
It's a long cab drive.
Yeah. And that was like one of the best cocktails I've had like since coming here.
Yeah. I always go to Pie, which everyone here knows about.
Pie's fire,
but
though.
Pie's like insane. Like every time I come here, I'm at Pie. I went to Pie this time. It was a 40-person lineup. I was like, I'll be coming back.
Yeah.
Today. Back home, lit shit is what's like really good back home.
Back home, that's fun. Honestly, Szechuan restaurant on 16th Avenue Northwest, Calgary, Alberta.
Fire.
Word.
Best restaurant in the city. It's my favorite.
Ricardo's is really good for the cocktails. Go to Ricardo's. Yeah.
Okay, sick.
Boycott Greta Bar. Sorry.
Boycott Greta.
Really important that you boycott Greta Bar.
Yeah.
Okay, you heard it here first. Okay. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah,
of course. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. This has been the Drew Yorke Show. Until next time, go stream that Trappistan right now.
We out.